Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to talk about one of the very important macroeconomic problem that is often discussed in the media and in political campaigns, which is unemployment. So unemployment is a macroeconomic measure that is computed by the US Department of Labor. So they would provide for us the unemployment rate, and this rate is provided for us at 8:30 a.m. around 8:30 a.m. on the first Friday of each month. And this is very helpful because it would give us an indication on how the economy is doing. So if the unemployment rate is high, this is not a good sign, right? This means that so many people are out of work. And it's not a good sign about the economy. If the unemployment rate is low, then this is a good sign of the economy. And it has so many implications. So when I say bad or good, it has an implication that is reflected in so many other macroeconomic measures. And one of these important measures is, for example, the stock prices, right? So you would see that anytime I have high unemployment rate, people are so pessimistic. So this is not a good sign. Prices are low. If unemployment rate is low, this is a good sign. So prices are going up. It's a sign of a healthy economy. Uh, so the unemployment rate, as I said, is measured by the US Department of Labor. However, they have two methods of measuring it. So let's start with how do they measure unemployment rate. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, they have basically two methods. The first method, which is more famous, which is the household survey, or it's also known as the current population survey, right? And they also have another one, which is the establishment survey. And the household survey you can abbreviate as HS, and this one as ES. Okay, so for the household survey, um, they do kind of divide the population into categories. So let's start with the first one, which is the household survey. So what they do is they take 60,000 adults. Okay, and so this is their sample. They do an interview for those people, and those people are 16 years and older. And what they do is they do divide them into two groups, right? Whether employed or unemployed. Okay, and there is a specific definition of being employed and a specific definition of being unemployed. So for being employed, you have to be working in the week before the survey. So this person who is employed must be working in the week before the survey. So when they come, and like the people from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they come and ask you during the interview, are you working? So if you're working to the very last week, then yes, the answer is yes. If no, then you're not, then you're classified as being unemployed. So you are not working the week before the survey, but this is not enough. You have to be actually actively looking for a job. Because you might not be like working the week before the survey and you really don't care and you're staying home, and that's fine, but you have to be actively working during I mean, you have to be actively looking for jobs during the previous 4 weeks. Okay, so if you have like, no, I'm not working the last week, but I'm actually actively looking for a job over the last 4 weeks, then you're classified as being unemployed. Okay, so let's look at the bigger picture. So when you look at the bigger picture, you get those people who are called the working age population. Okay, this is the bigger picture of the previous slide, and we said those people are either employed or unemployed. Together they are called labor force. So labor force, so whether people are in the labor force, whether they are employed or unemployed, and remember the definition of being unemployed, you have to satisfy these two criteria. You're not working the last week before the survey, but you're actually actively looking for a job. If you satisfy these two, then you are here as being unemployed. Next, the second category of a working age population is you are not in the labor force. Okay, so this in the labor force or not in the labor force. And to be in here, to be in this category, you have to be not actively looking for jobs. Okay, and you're not actively looking for jobs because one of these two possibilities: you might not be available for work, right? Or you are available for work, but not currently working. Okay, so whether you're here or there, you're not in the labor force. Okay, so not in like not be able to work, I mean like not available for work is like you have different possibilities. You might be like um, you're a full-time student, like you, most of you, right? Like you're a full-time student, or you might be in the military service, right? You might be retirees, right? Also people in the mental hospital, right? Okay, and the other possibility is available for work but not currently working. So not currently looking because of probably like you have a child care, right? Might be have some problems about transportation. You might be discouraged actually, like you have been looking for a job and you couldn't find it, so you got discouraged. So we have to divide those people, and let me just take this little bit up. So we have to divide these categories into two possibilities. One, which is discouraged workers. So discouraged workers are those who actually kind of believe that there are no jobs around. They have been looking and they just fed up, so they got discouraged. Okay, um, those people here, those are not actually like those people here, they have looked over the past 12 months and nothing in the past 4 weeks. Okay, so those people here, they are not currently looking because of, so not looking for a job because of like childcare, right? Taking care of their children, maybe taking care of parents, right? Maybe also they do have transportation problems, so you can add that. They might have other kind of problems that are not enabling them to go and look for a job. Okay, so those are discouraged over, like to be more specific, over the last 4 weeks. Okay, and those people have looked over the past 12 months, but nothing in the past 4 weeks. Okay, so this is kind of the big picture of the household survey. So they take like those 60,000 people and they do divide them into different categories: employed, unemployed, and uh, like not available for work or discouraged workers, and so on. Okay, so based on that, we can come up with different statistics. So if I'm asking you, what is the labor force? So the labor force, the number of people who are in the labor force, are the number of people employed plus the number of people unemployed. So this is one of the famous statistics. So let me write it here. So if I have a question about the labor force or the number of people in the labor force, you just take the number of people employed plus the number of people unemployed. Okay, so suppose that this is like in numbers. Okay, suppose this is like in millions, and this is a number. So I'm writing this as a sign of a number. So the number of people in the labor force is equal to the employed plus the unemployed. Okay, so for example, if I have this one as 153.2 million, and I have the people who are unemployed 7.1 million, then the number in the labor force are 160.2 million. So it's in millions, right? The other statistic that we can get, which is very famous, which is the unemployment rate. How can I compute the unemployment rate? So the unemployment rate is simply you get the number of people who are unemployed and you divide it by the labor force and you multiply times 100. So, and this is our second important statistic. So the unemployment rate equal to the number of people unemployed. Let me write the same. So the number unemployed divided by the labor force. And you multiply this times 100, so you get it in percentage. Okay. What else? One of the other important statistics, so this is one and this is two, the labor force participation rate. So the labor force participation rate, you want to know out of this population, out of the working age population, how many people are participating. So the participation rate of the labor force, you just get this labor force and you divide it by the working age population. right? So this is another important statistic. So let's write it here. So you just compute it as the number of people in the labor force, and it's divided by the number of people classified in the working age population, and you multiply it times 100, so you get it as a percentage. Okay, so those are the most important statistics. Of course, there are so many other statistics that we can come up from this big chart, but these are the most important ones. Okay, so one of the important topics that we need to talk about is the different problems in measuring unemployment rate. So what are the different problems? So as I said, use and to be more specific, problems with measuring unemployment rate using, so you can complete here, using the household survey, HS. Okay, so the problem is there are so many factors that can make us underestimate unemployment or overestimate it. Okay, so in terms of underestimation, the one of the important factors is the discouraged workers. So as I said, discouraged workers are people who are not looking for a job over the last 4 weeks. They just like fed up from trying to find a job. They couldn't find it, so they think there are no jobs around. So those people are not counted as unemployed. So you might like think it's normal that people who are discouraged, right, are supposed to be part of being unemployed or part of the unemployed population, but actually they are not. So this is one of the important factors that lead to understating the unemployment rate. They are supposed to be in the unemployment rate, however they are not counted. So that's why if I see the unemployment rate as being, for example, 7%, no, it is actually understating. It is supposed to be, for example, 9%, because there is about, let's say, 500,000 of people discouraged and they are not counted as being unemployed. The other also similar problem is people who are working as part-time. So part-time workers, those people are actually counted as employed. Okay, so this would like overstate the employment rate. People are actually who are working as part-time, they actually wish to work as a full-time. Okay, so they are looking for a full-time jobs, but they are, when they come here, when they are included in the survey, let me show you. So when they are included in the survey and they do like the 60,000 adults and they come and ask you, are you working? And you say yes. This yes is whether you're full-time, whether you're part-time, whether you're working at McDonald's for a few hours per week, you're still employed, despite the fact that you are actually looking for a full-time position. So from your point of view, you feel like you are unemployed, you're just finding any job until you find a full-time position. But from the people who are computing the unemployment rate, you are considered to be employed. So this is another factor that leads to understating the amount of unemployment. The third factor is that there is no verification of the responses of people. So if someone will come and ask you, are you working, and you say yes, there is no verification. If someone will come and ask you, are you working, and you say no, there is no verification. So this is the big problem. So the household survey does not verify the responses of people. Okay, so for example, if you are unemployed, right, and you're not actually actively looking for job, okay, so you might actually say I'm actively looking for a job, right? So someone might just say or might claim that he or she is actively looking for a job. Why is that? Because in order to get unemployment benefits, right? So you basically, you want to keep on saying that or claim that actively looking so that you keep receiving the government unemployment benefits. Okay, so this is one of the things. So you might claim that you're actively looking for a job. Why? So that you keep receiving, right, the government unemployment benefits. So some of people, they are not very honest, so they would do that. Nobody is going to verify their responses. Also, there is another problem, which is number D. There are some people who are working, just the opposite, so working, but you claim not working. And you claim you're not working for two possibilities. Yeah, like you probably or someone would probably want to avoid taxes, right? So they just, instead of receiving payments in credit card, they just receive their payment in cash. So nobody is tracking their activities, and this is basically to avoid taxes. And some others, they are working in illegal work. And this is the part of the underground economy that we were talking about in one of the GDP videos. Okay, so the underground economy. Okay, so the next survey, or the second type of survey that is used to measure the state of employment in an economy, is called the establishment survey. So the establishment survey, it's also called the payroll survey. And as the name suggests, they just go to the payroll of different businesses and try to count how many people are on the payroll. They do this for a sample of 300,000 businesses or business establishments. Okay, like factories, stores, offices, and they just take these businesses establishments. It's a sample, so it's like supposed to be randomly selected, and what they do is they want to check how many people are on the payroll of these establishments. So as you can tell, it's measuring employment rather than unemployment, right? So there are three important drawbacks of this method as compared to the household survey. So the first thing is, if I have someone who is self-employed, this person is not included, right? So self-employed are not included because they are not on the payroll of anyone. So they are working, but they are not part of this establishment survey. Also, if you have just received your job, you might not be right away on the payroll, so the survey might miss you, right? Might miss some persons employed in like newly opened firms, or they just received their job. So those people are not counted. So some persons are employed in newly opened firms, and that's why they are not counted, right? So they are not included. Okay, like there is a lag for including all the business establishments. And also, as I said, it's all about employment rather than unemployment. So we have no information about unemployment. Okay, so those are the three important drawbacks of using the establishment or the payroll survey. The next point I'm going to talk about, which is the final point in the unemployment topic, is about the types of unemployment, the different types of unemployment. So types of unemployment. So when you say I don't have work, you can be classified into different types of or different categories of unemployment. One of them is called the frictional unemployment. The frictional unemployment is simply a short-run problem, and it's the time you take to fill out application, to go for the interview, until you receive a job offer. Okay, so it's a short-term problem or a short-term unemployment problem. Okay, and you can think of it as not as serious as other types. So this is a short-term, and it's basically arising from the process of matching. So process of matching your skills or the workers, so those are people looking for the job, right, and the jobs. So you want to match these two together, right? The skills versus the needs of businesses. And this process of matching, you can think of it as being involving steps. So you look for a job, you read the ad, and then you apply for the job, and then you go for the interview, and then you probably go for a fly out until you actually receive the job offer. Okay, so it's not as serious because this is what we expect to go into a process of finding a job. It's not like whenever you need it you find it. No, you have to go into a process, and this process we call it the frictional unemployment. The more serious one, which is called the structural unemployment, so the structural unemployment is more of a long-term problem. So it's a long-term problem, and it's actually resulting from the mismatch. Like I said, there's a problem of mismatching between skills and skills of workers and the requirements of jobs. So you can think of it as this is being persistent, and this persistent is related to the mismatching between, again, workers and jobs. And you think of workers as the skills, right, and requirements. So these are not the same. So for example, people who used to type on the typewriter, and then with the introduction of computers, they cannot move from typewriters to computers, for example. So they have lost certain skills, and these skills or their skills are not anymore needed in the economy. So if they do not update their skills, they would be unemployed forever. Okay, so this is more serious problem. The last type, which is called the cyclical unemployment, and as the name suggests, it moves with the cycle. It is caused by the business cycle. So it's caused by the business cycle, the state of the economy. So you know already that any economy, you have, like here, this is the time, and this is the level of real output, production, right? And you know that output over time, like it increases. However, it moves between cycles, right? So you have like a cycle that keeps going into a recession and then trough, and then you go all the way up to a peak, and then, right? And then you keep going down and up, down and up. So the business cycle is moving where I do have here the best, right, which is the peak, and the trough, okay, and the trough. And as I go from here to there, this is called the recession, right? And then as I go from here to all the way up, it's the recovery or expansion, okay? So as you move from here to down, which is the recession, unemployment increases. And as you move from here to the way up, unemployment decreases. So it's not because of your skills, it's not because of the process of matching your skills to the requirements of job. It's more about the state of the economy. Okay, so it's caused by the business cycle. So whenever I have a recession, what happens? Production decreases, firms do or lay off people, right? So the firms would lay off people, so the layoffs would increase. And as the economy recovers, people are rehired again, right? So layoff increase, and this would cause increase in unemployment, and the opposite is true. Okay? So whenever we count unemployment, we have to take into consideration the frictional, how much I have, how much I do have as structural, how much I have as cyclical, because the three combined would give me the level of unemployment. Okay, so one of the important terminologies used in macroeconomics is called full employment. Is full employment means that every single person looking for a job is working? Of course, the answer is no. So the full employment has a certain definition. The full employment means that the cyclical unemployment is equal to 0%. Cyclical unemployment is equal to 0%. However, I still have the other parts. I do have the frictional, and I do have the structural, right? So these two combined are usually, let's say, if I say, for example, 4%. So if you say, okay, unemployment rate is 4%, then this is, and I have a full employment, then you understand that this does not include cyclical, it includes frictional, people still looking for jobs, trying to match their skills with job requirements, or structural, those people have lost their skills forever. But anytime I'm saying a best case scenario for the economy is to achieve full employment, does that mean 0% unemployment? Of course, no. It means that just the cyclical part is equal to 0. However, I do have frictional and structural. So yeah, so basically unemployment rate is combined of or consisting of cyclical plus frictional plus structural, right? And if I can get this one to 0%, then that's perfect, because if this happens, then I would achieve full employment. However, in real life, we would never have this number is equal to 0, because I still have some people who are either looking for jobs, still waiting for their interviews, or I have some people who have lost their skills forever. Okay, so these two combined would lead to an unemployment rate that would never be equal to 0. However, we kind of look for a 0% of cyclical, or we wish to achieve a 0% cyclical in order to say that we have full employment or full use of our available workforce. Okay, everyone, so I'm gonna stop here.